We'll name it on the pod with this time, half of Punchu. It's just me and Nick this time. Today we've got Alex Tarsy and Sheldon and Chris. I'm so sorry. How do you say your last name again?
Caceres.
Caceres. Oh, I knew I would mess that up. And we're literally just gonna have a really probably, I'm guessing, dorky conversation about photography. Um, yeah, these guys are like, this was Nate's idea. Nate was like, you should get all three of these dudes on the podcast with an episode with Nick, and you guys should just talk to it. Um, I am like a super photography nerd. Not nerd, sorry, noob. I'm like so new to this. I dug up my dad's old 35 millimeter film camera like 3 weeks ago and was like, this is really cool. And I ordered some film, and I've just been going nuts, just taking pictures of stuff, and yeah, and I'm having a really fun time. So I'm really excited to just like hear you guys talk about this stuff and just like hear from the different perspectives and whatnot. So
Nice.
could you guys start off by like giving some background to like your experience with taking photos, like how you got started and just your experience and like what you guys have been doing, what you're into?
I'll start, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll start. So I essentially started off taking pictures. I think, grade 10 or 11, and I just took a class. I think it was communications, and there was like a month-long project to take pictures, and I just took a couple pictures and really liked them, and then kind of like decided, hey, I think this is what I kind of want to do with my life. So I went to school for it, and that's how I met Sheldon. Actually, we were in the same program at Humber College, and and
We were.
yeah, and then my photography type, I'd say, is probably mostly like band photography or events. I like doing a lot of shows just because like I like listening to music, and then I just get to take pictures while I do it. There's nothing better than that.
So, yeah, that was another thing that I was really excited about, that we're all like sort of music fans. So it's kind of like a bunch of people like to take photos, but from the perspective of people who are really into music, and I think that's a kind of a cool thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And to like tie in the music thing too, I've personally been like obsessed with like Francis Wolff, like the guy who shot all the Blue Note covers,
nice.
like all those
Yeah,
black and
yeah.
white photos. I've been like going down like a rabbit hole of like all of his work, like both that's like
Nice.
published on sleeves and not. Just it's crazy, honestly.
Yeah,
So-
honestly, I know.
So what do you mean by like rabbit hole? Like what's the rabbit hole to go down into?
Oh, I've just been like, just like recently, I've actually kind of just been trying to study more people's work, like you know, very casually study, I guess. I'm not like taking notes, but I've just been like looking at a lot of their work, like outside of what's published, I guess.
For sure.
So yeah, but Francis Wolff, good stuff.
Cool. Like where would you find stuff like where would you find stuff that's not published?
Well, just not published in the sense of like on Blue Note Records.
Okay.
You know, it's
Yeah.
just like this stuff. Because some of his works, like the contact sheets of the film, like a contact sheet's just like the entire roll basically on one sort of frame, and you can see kind of like how he cropped and stuff. And I find that stuff like really interesting,
Cool.
personally. Just like seeing how people work.
Cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sheldon, why don't you go next and tell us about just your background a little bit?
All right. Honestly, I don't really remember when I got into photography, but I started on like a film camera that I found in my parents' basement, I think. It was like my dad's old camera that he had bought in like the mid 90s or something. I don't know.
Classic.
But yeah, no, exactly. It's like a really good camera, and I sold it a few years ago, and I kind of regret it. I'm not going to lie. But no, I just like had a lot of friends that were like into art, like painting and drawing stuff, and I like couldn't do either of those. So I was just like, naturally I decided, let's give photography a shot. And I kind of like stuck with it for a bit. Lately, to be honest, I've been a little lazy and I haven't been shooting as much. Like my stockpile of just stuff to develop is like getting a little ridiculous. But I'm shooting mostly large format these days, which is kind of not a unique approach, but it's slightly less common, I guess. But yeah, that's like the fun aspect to me. It's like the technical sort of like very ritualistic, slow down, frame your shot upside down and all that stuff. So yeah.
Sweet. Alex, why don't you go next?
Yeah, I'm actually fairly new as well. I'm sure that I think you and I are actually the only two that haven't been to school for this. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been shooting for about 2 years, like pretty exclusively film. I haven't really been interested in digital at all. But yeah, I started in high school. I took a film class and I really liked it, but then I kind of just dropped it and just did life for a while. And then yeah, just 2 years ago, Chris was actually into it because we were in Woolly together, and he was taking pictures. And our friend Ezekiel, who's also a really good photographer, he was shooting film at our shows sometimes, and he sent us stuff. And I was like, damn, that's such a different feel from somebody snapping a pic with their iPhone at our show. You know, it's just the
Yeah.
time and effort like that you take in each shot. I don't know. I just took a respect to that, and I loved it ever since. So just recently, I started developing at home, which was cool. Yeah, I'm pretty into it. So, but other than that, I'd consider myself more of like a street photographer slash like nature. But yeah, I don't know. I've just really been liking 35 millimeters so far. So I'm definitely gonna get into larger formats, but
Mhm.
if you know anything about film, it's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like I'm on my one, two. I've got them right here. I'm on my one, two. I'm on my fourth roll, like my fourth roll ever right now. Um,
Nice.
and I ordered four to start, and then I went back to like order some more, and I like was looking everywhere for like the cheapest price. I
Nice.
ended up ordering 10 rolls from Downtown Camera. Um,
What kind of roles?
uh, Kodak
Kodak.
Ultramax.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is actually Jake's film, but it's this one.
Jake.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm gonna send it to them to get it developed.
Right.
So I'm just sending Jake's rolls with me. But yeah, Downtown Camera has free shipping over $100. So I
Yep.
just loaded up on like as many rolls until it got to $100, and they shipped it to me. So that
Yeah, I did that exact
sick.
thing at the beginning of lockdown.
was
It's like
yeah.
Yeah.
it's like through the Polaroid film and all the expensive stuff that I wouldn't buy on a normal basis.
Did you did you load up on supplies like because of the pandemic starting? Oh, Sheldon.
Uh,
No, you're good. Oh,
Oh, is the audio
sorry.
still there?
Oh, am I good?
Yeah.
yeah, you're good.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry, no, I was yeah, I stocked up a bit to be they had some issues with I was messaging with them for a bit about shipping chemistry.
Yeah.
And I ended up not doing it because it ends up costing more because they have to get a separate courier for it. So that was a bummer, but I just bought a bunch of film. Like I bought like 4 boxes of like sheet film and stuff, a couple of rolls of HP5, which is like the only
Nice.
film I shoot anymore. So
Cool. I feel like talking about like film and stuff is kind of like a rabbit hole in itself. So before we go down that
Yeah.
specifically, Chris, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Same like you guys, I guess. I don't really remember how I got into shooting photos. Like I just remember like in grade 5 I got like a digital camera, just like a little point and shoot. And it had like filters and all the stuff built in, so I was
Ooh,
messing around with that. Yeah,
neat.
getting those Facebook photos, like those crispy profile pics.
Yeah, it's like your first multi effects pedal,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. So yeah, I was messing around with that for a while, and then I think I stopped for until maybe I got out of high school, and I got into like onto the YouTube, like the photography side of YouTube, and bought
Nice.
like a little like a Pentax Q7. If you know what that is, it's like
Yeah.
a shitty little. Well, it's not shitty.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of cool stuff built into it, but it's like a tiny little sensor. So, like you win some, you lose some. And then I got into film, and I think I mainly got into film because just if like Alex said, it just feels really different.
Mhm.
I didn't expect it to feel like as different as it did, just because I don't know. I didn't I underestimated the difference that like not having all those. I guess like if you shoot digital, you'll see like everything on the screen. You'll see like I don't know, shutter speed, whatever.
Mhm.
Sometimes if you, depending on what you like to shoot, you'll have like a histogram and stuff there too.
Yeah.
And I just liked how you could just look through the viewfinder, and that was pretty much it. You could see shutter speed, and like you'd see like a little whatever, like center or circle in the middle, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's nice to be able to
Like
just
a
like
really-
have one viewfinder, like no clutter, right? You can just kind of you look through, that's all you see. Like
Yeah.
there's something
Yeah.
freeing about that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where like how I started, or not how, sorry, that's what I like the most about it, is just how simple it is. So I think I ended up buying a little Holga camera, and I think that's honestly my favorite camera that I have right now, is that Holga. I feel like I've shot so much cool stuff on it.
Holgas are cool.
Yeah, there.
So do you shoot mostly film then?
Yeah, right now, yeah. I think I only really use like a digital camera for video.
Cool. My dad can't seem to grasp why I've been shooting so much on like film. He doesn't understand why I'm waiting for like a week and a half for the film to come in the mail.
Yeah.
This digital
Same.
HD camera that's like 15 years old. He says this thing's great. You know how many photos this thing can hold? And I was like, that's not. He doesn't understand like that. That's not the point. You know. But
Yeah.
I totally get like I didn't really understand how different it would feel, like taking photos with 35 millimeter rather than like just my phone.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
A lot more thought goes into the picture.
Yeah. Yeah. A big thing for me also is just like it's like a disconnect between, you know, like a cell phone, you know, where you're getting all these like notifications and stuff, and you know,
Yeah.
exactly. You're holding up this like this device, but then you get a text from your mom, and then an email from work, and your overdue 407 bill, and all this other stuff, right? When you're just trying to like be in the moment.
You're 2 hours late for your shift.
Yeah.
It's like, shut up, I'm trying to take a picture of a flower, you know?
Another thing I was gonna say is like pretty sick about it is like you can get pretty good like stuff for pretty cheap. Like I got two Minoltas for like $90 with 50 mils that are like pretty good lenses for the price. Like for less than $100, I got two really good cameras.
Yeah. I think I got like my Minolta camera for like a 150, but it also came with like a long lens. So I think it's like an 80 to 250 lens, and then
That's a crazy
an
low
extender.
lens.
Yeah, and then like a bunch of filters and stuff like that. It was awesome.
I remember when you bought that. That was a crazy lens. I remember we were
Yeah.
having a lot of fun with that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the easiest comparison and like the most accurate comparison to like film versus digital, and I say this all the time. It's literally vinyl versus like MP3s. In my opinion, it's like the same sort of concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like those
Totally.
imperfections make it better to me, at least, and I think to all
Exactly.
you as well, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's such a cool feeling because instead of somebody taking 100 photos in like 30 seconds by holding down the shutter, you know that this one photographer took his time and picked what shot he wanted to take, and it's basically all the user that you're seeing, and it's not necessarily 100% post. Where I mean, you can still edit your pictures in post, but I feel like it's just like what you're seeing is a lot of time and effort for the user compared to the person that's like actually just editing in post for digital.
Yeah, I
So
think it's like
cool.
shit. Sorry. I was
No,
gonna
go
say,
ahead.
like, I think it's like just waiting around for like the perfect moment, and just like waiting, like that build up of like anticipating like certain, like if you're shooting street or whatever, and you're just like waiting for someone to walk past like a door frame or whatever, like waiting for that moment is
It's the decisive moment, man.
Yeah.
Decisive moment of just
Shout out to Henry Cartier-Bresson over there.
Cartier-Bresson.
Yeah.
It's funny too because it
My
depends
man, one of my favorites.
like depending on what role you're shooting too. Like if you're shooting a Kodak professional role, like that one shot could cost you like potentially like $1 depending on what you're doing. So yeah,
it's definitely
you
bittersweet
really got to pick it.
when you miss.
That's how I feel about large format.
So for anyone listening that will understand like the difference between like certain like film brands and types, I don't yet. I went for the cheap. Actually, I texted Jake, and like Jake's been playing around with the 35 millimeter. I was like, "What are you getting?" He's like, "Kodak Ultramax." I was like, "Okay, sick. That's the cheapest. Let's get it."
Yeah.
So like for anyone listening that understands that, like what types of films are you guys digging and using right now?
I think it's like, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. For 35, I'm like HP5 only these days. I've like tried things, I've experimented, but like I've kind of just like settled into a comfort zone. Part of that is the fact that my 35 camera doesn't have meter. It's like completely. It is from 1954, I think. So it's obviously doesn't have any tech. So it's like all kind of eye, and I just know HP5 so well for that. But large format and stuff, it's usually T-Max because it's cheaper and easier to develop at home. So those are my those are my picks.
Are you using like a light meter on your phone at all, or you're just like 100% feel?
Usually, if it's just like a sunny day, I can do it with my eyes, kind of no problem. But I've also been doing that for quite like a couple of years at this point because it's like I see it as like a challenge for myself. But if it's like any sort of like variable lighting or like, you know, any sort of like lower, like past sort of like dusk, it's like I have to bust out the phone light meter app.
Yeah.
But yeah, usually that works pretty well though. Like I have no complaints with phone light meters, honestly. Like
they're pretty good.
For what they can do, like, you know, and compared to the cost of good light meters, like, you know, you can save $100 and safely use a phone meter unless you're doing something crazy, like some like studio stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. What else are you guys like? Okay, so Alex and Chris, what do you guys use?
Personally, I don't really have like a favorite. I feel like I'm still messing around. I feel like when I first started shooting film I just started last year. I heard that Kodak was really good, which like it's true. Like Kodak, there's nothing wrong with like I think Portrait 400 is like everybody says that's like the I don't know if it's the best, but it's like like one of the most popular ones.
Yeah.
But I also really like Fuji, and I like if you compare like Kodak and Fuji, you can see like there's differences. Like Fuji is like a little bit cooler, I guess. Like everything seems a little bit more.
I think Fuji has like a notoriously like they're better with greens. I've noticed.
Yeah.
And then Portrait handles like reds and warm colors really, really beautifully. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think whenever I shoot Fuji, I feel like the sky comes out really nice too. I don't know. It's been a while since I shot any Fuji though. So Alex gave me a roll of like hold on a second.
It's okay.
The Lomochrome. I still haven't shot it.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. They're fun.
Yeah, I've been saving it for like I haven't had any opportunities to shoot, so what else? I think on like because mainly if I do shoot, it's mainly on my Holga, so I normally shoot portrait on that.
Right on.
Sweet. I'm loving that this is where the conversation went. Like this is
now Jared's just soaking up
Just
information at this point.
He's just taking notes, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'm gonna go back and edit this, and I'm gonna probably listen to this whole thing like 3 or 4 or 5 times in total, which is totally cool. This time, I mean, like the past few episodes, like. I mean, it's just listening to myself talk and listening to like have the same conversation with Julian Drazilov that we've had so many times before. Have you guys? have you guys ever lost a roll of film? Have you ever just has anything
Yeah.
wrong happened to you guys and it's just been a totally tragic moment?
Oh yeah,
Many times.
many times, yeah.
Many times.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
been a.
My first roll of film, so my camera's supposed to it's supposed to roll it back up when it gets to the end of the roll, right?
I know where this is going.
And then the number, it said 30. I was like 37 exposures. Okay, so it's 36 roll. So I just opened it up, and it wasn't rolled back up. So I don't know what happened. What I did was I put it back in the canister, and I wrote "Never Forget" on it. Remind myself, but yeah.
I don't think I've ever
Something
lost
similar
a roll.
happened. No,
I did that
you never?
once.
I don't think so.
Oh,
I did the same thing
nice.
Jer happened, or it happened to Jer, where you opened the back of it, because it was when we were at the cottage and we were on the boat, and I was just like, oh, I gotta get this other roll of quick film in there quickly. So I was like, I rolled it up really quickly. I'm like, okay, it's gotta be all done. And then I opened it, and I was like, oh crap! Like I just gotta close that right away. And then you see it in the pictures, there's all the pictures, and then eventually it's just one picture's cut out halfway, and then there's 3 white pictures or 3 black pictures, and then there's another picture where it cuts out halfway again. But it kind of adds it to the picture. I think one of those pictures actually ended up being really cool.
If you do feel like taking the risk, you can probably bring that in to be processed, and you might salvage some of the first shots because they're kind of spooled up. If it's tightly spooled, you might be able to get something.
Yeah.
But you'll probably have light leaks along the edges.
It's cool. Yeah, I'm gonna send it in anyways. It's I think it's $6 to get them developed.
Yeah.
$6 a roll. So.
I've actually got a Ziploc bag with probably, I can't see it from here, probably 8 rolls that I shot in high school back when I had no idea what I was doing, and they're still not processed. And I've been thinking about bringing them in, but I also know that I might get one shot a roll up there because I didn't know what aperture was or shutter speed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what a meter was. I just kind of had this camera, and it was it's just a fully manual camera. It was just clicking around and stuff. And I don't know how I ended up with all these rules undeveloped, but yeah.
So, Alex, you develop your own film?
Just recently, yeah. I ended up buying an Epson V600 scanner, and just kind of bought all the tools at Downtown Camera. I got a Patterson tank and just experimented with a few chemicals here and there. But I wouldn't say I'm amazing at it yet. But I feel like it's definitely something that you have to do a lot and constantly to get really good at, because then you're trying to figure out what you're doing wrong the first time and then the second time, and then you try to develop your skills based on those mistakes, just like anything really. But it's an expensive mistake.
It can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when me and Sheldon were living together, she started developing film by himself, in our thing, and it'd be I'd try to go to the bathroom, and then he'd just be in the bathroom. Don't come in! Don't come in!
You're no.
Yeah.
Well, there was that one time I was sitting. We used to have that closet underneath the stairs that got pitch black, right? So I used to be I'd sit in there with scissors and a leader finder and be spooling the rolls onto the spools, and then Nick would open the door with the light on, and I'd just be wait, back up kind of into the thing, Oh,
dude,
that was
there's
hilarious.
been times where I'm in the washroom for 30 minutes, just getting fed up that I can't get the stupid film into the reel. I'm come on. And then you toss it all in the tank, and you come back out, and you're what the heck am I doing wrong? And then you practice more.
I've developed probably 40 rolls at this point, and I still sometimes have trouble with the spool.
Yeah.
It's something, it's you think you'll get used to it, but sometimes it just won't cooperate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's so many factors. It's if you cut the film, if you cut it straight, if you didn't cut it straight. There's just so many things. Yeah.
Yeah, once you get a system in place, it does become a little easier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
cool.
awesome.
Let's talk about what cameras you guys are shooting on. I don't know how much that don't know how much that makes of a difference.
Oh, it
But
makes a huge difference.
all right, cool. Let's hear it. What are you guys shooting on?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like this. I feel like is the only comparison I could draw. But like like a good guitar player can make like a Squire Strat sound okay, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah,
then,
like there's
and then
good
a crappy
cameras and
cameras
bad cameras, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then a
when it,
crappy
like
guitar player is going to make a Stevie Ray Vaughan's guitar sound awful, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
that's the thing. It's kind of people always say that like the camera doesn't matter, but like I kind of only half agree with that. Like I feel like that's just like way too big of a statement to make. But
Yeah.
to each their own, right? Like I'm never gonna judge someone for what they shoot. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it doesn't matter to me. Like
As
I
long
know
as you're
what I
taking a
like,
good
and-
picture. Yeah.
yeah, that's the thing. As long as you just like if you enjoy it, who's to judge?
cool,
Zen.
rock and roll.
Yeah, like
So-
What are you shooting?
So what do you guys digging then? Like that point aside.
Yeah, when I started shooting film, I started on a Pentax K1000, and I feel like that's just like a really good starter camera to figure out like how to work your aperture and your shutter speeds and your ISO and all that stuff. And it's just a good camera overall. But recently I've been getting into rangefinders more,
Nice.
and I got myself a little Vesta R3M, a Voigtlander.
Nice.
It's really nice. Like I don't know, I really love it. It's so much fun. It's just like a completely different experience than like a SLR. So
I feel like the
Okay.
K1000 is just like a rite of passage for like film
Yeah.
photographers. I feel like everyone's used one at some point. Anyone that shoots film like a lot has used one at some point, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
for sure.
and for a good reason. Like, I think they're solid. Like,
Yeah, it's for like the price that they are in like the $80 to $100 range. It's really like the best film camera you could get, in my opinion, if you're starting out or if you're just, I don't know. It's just so good for so many different things. I love it.
Sorry, I ran
But the
away there.
Vesta's my baby now.
I was just trying to find my camera because I didn't actually know what it is, but it's the X370 Nolta.
Nice.
yeah, I'll grab mine.
Is it digital? It's a digital. What am I trying to say here? Is it autofocusing? Or?
Nope, completely manual. It does have
Oh,
a
okay.
light meter, which is nice.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I'm still trying to get the ropes. I want to. Eventually, the goal is to do what Sheldon did. Got to get a Leica camera because that shit's amazing and beautiful.
Yeah.
But,
The nickname for this camera is actually the Leica Killer.
the Leica camera.
I like how you've got the red shutter release though, so you can at least kind of pretend.
Yeah. Right. It's basically a Leica, but not really. And for like a eighth of the price.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm preoccupied because I'm setting this up. But for me, Nick can attest to this. I've gone through a lot of different cameras because I kind of just really enjoy like buying and selling different cameras, using them for a bit. If I love it, I keep it. If I don't, I resell it. And I've settled these days on like I've got my my M3, which
Right on.
I won't go too nerdy into it, but there's like actually a bit of
Oh
history
no, give it to
in
us.
this one. Okay, so the M. So okay, I'll break this down. I'll do like a TLDR. The M3, despite the name, was the first M camera. So it's like the first kind of like Leica style rangefinder ever. So it was like revolutionary, right? All of the old school like Magnum photographers was using them and stuff. This one is actually from the first publicly available production batch, which I found out after I had bought it. So the serial number
Okay.
is like quite low.
Cool.
So I don't know if that like increases the value at all. I don't plan on reselling it, to be honest. Like I love this thing. It's smooth as butter. It's the smoothest camera I think I've ever used. I previously had an M5, which I did like, but it was just a little too bulky. And the meter had some trouble, so I ended up selling it and replacing it with this. But this is also great for, I don't know what your default like rangefinder or viewfinder magnification is on your Bessa, but for this one, it's pretty much 1-to-1 with your eye. I think it's like 0.91 to 1. So
This one is 1-to-1.
50 mil. Yeah, so a 50 mil is like perfect on this. I do have a 35 mil lens as well, but it needs to be calibrated. I haven't used it in a while. And then I also use this guy here. I don't have the lens on it, but this has been what I've been shooting lately.
Nice.
Just the
That's
classic.
so cool.
Yeah, so I have a 210 lens, which I think is like I think it's like an 80 equivalent. I might be wrong on that. To like a normal sort of 35 camera. But this thing's like super fun to use. It's like super slow and like almost meditative in a sense.
Mhm.
Now that I've like figured out sort of the process behind it, like there's just so many steps. But like when you finally are like, you know, you've loaded the film, you've exposed it, you've put it away, you've developed it, you've scanned it. It's like so satisfying because it's so detailed and so sharp.
Oh yeah, I remember
But
when
it
the
is
first time we
it
tried
is like higher cost. Yeah, Nick's seen some frames from it, and it's like it's a lot. It's kind of overwhelming at first, and I feel like that's why a lot of people don't bother with large format these days. But to those people, I would say try it because it's not as crazy as it seems. Because the tech is simple. It's like the most basic a camera can get, really, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just exposing right onto a sheet. So, but it's a fun one, and I always end up getting into conversations with strangers when I'm like out, like in the park with it, because it's always like old guys that are just like, oh, I used to have one of those when I was in my teens, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like,
They always have a dog.
Dude, I was stopped by an old guy on the street too when I was walking around on a nice day just taking photos and stuff, and this car was sort of following me for like 2 minutes, and I was like, what's going on? And he pulls in this parking lot and shouts at me, and he's like, what are you taking pictures of? And then he holds up this huge camera, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. He's also out taking photos, and he was this elderly guy, and we ended up talking for like half an hour just about random stuff, and he started asking me all these questions that I didn't know how to answer, like all the stuff about my camera. And I held it up to him, and I was like, I don't know, it's this. Does this make sense to you? I pointed at the numbers.
so you can. Yeah, the guy that I actually bought that off, he was like this like old Russian dude in North York, and I got it on Kijiji, and like I met up with him in like the lobby of his apartment building, and he's just like, do you plan to use it? And I'm like, yeah, of course. He's like, okay, good, because some kids, they just buy them for show, and these cameras deserve to be used. And he just like kept going on, and I'm just like nodding along. And, yeah, I agree. Okay, yeah. And then he like printed off the manual for me. Like he went upstairs and like found it and like printed it off. It was crazy. The guy was super friendly. I don't remember his name, but
Amazing.
Shout out to the old Russian dude in North York.
Thanks, old Russian
that
dude.
sold me that camera. Shout out to him.
Awesome.
What are you using, Chris?
So I started like on one of these.
Nice, Minolta.
Yeah, on Minolta, and then I feel like I like going with the whole simplicity thing. I feel like I kind of went in that direction, so I started just looking for. Well, not looking. I just found some like interesting, simple cameras, which is like the Holga, which I was talking about, which I feel like is like stupid simple.
Yeah.
It does like I don't know.
But they're so fun to shoot with.
It's really fun to shoot with. It's also got like the built-in gels on here, so like I love messing around with the flash and like
That's awesome.
I don't know, flooding a place up with colors or whatever. I feel like it gives some pretty interesting results. And then also, like I got this guy here, which is like it's like a weatherproof camera.
Oh, nice.
So it's supposed to be like waterproof and stuff, and it's also like sorry.
Is it mostly like a point and shoot? Like, is it?
It is a point and shoot. Yeah.
Okay.
But like one thing that really got my attention about this camera was it has like two lenses kind of. It has.
Oh.
I guess technically it's like a zoom lens, like built in. So I wish I could show you guys, but look through the viewfinder. Like if you press the button, you'll see like the viewfinder like adjusts for whatever lens. But I found out afterwards like the lens doesn't even move. So it's like stuck on the 50 mil setting.
Damn.
I was just gonna ask her. I thought it didn't work, but I didn't want to
Yeah.
say anything.
Like to have a weatherproof film camera, I still think is kind of neat.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
I want to try to get that fixed because I feel like that'd be dope. I really like wide angle lenses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
neither of my cameras are weatherproof. It's like drop her in. I actually cracked the base of the large format like a couple weeks ago. It was on the tripod in my room, and I knocked it over. And like it's easily fixable, just a bit of wood glue. But
Okay.
yeah, I was like pretty bummed when I saw this like massive crack running along the bottom.
Oh, that's
Oh.
awesome.
But I've still shot with it since. I've just been like super,
Yeah.
super careful.
Yeah,
But
of course.
that's a problem. It's like literally made of wood. So it's like, got to be careful with those ones.
I'll show you guys what I've been using. This little thing.
Yeah.
My dad says it's about 30 years old. I don't really know what it is. It's a Pentax something, but
Nice.
Like new age
Yeah,
film
like,
cameras with like
definitely.
the auto wind and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've got 2 lenses for it.
the
And
90s cameras.
I use the wider lens when I'm like taking pictures of people in the Freshco parking lot. It's this one. From your car, like in the. No, not even, man. I'm just walking through. Oh, I did do that. I was on my way to the beer
See?
store, and I stopped and I rolled down the window. And went
You gotta watch out for
Sniping
those
people?
Brooklyn moms, dude. Watch out for those Brooklyn moms. They'll talk about you.
Oh, I can't, dude. I want someone to come up and ask me what I'm doing so badly. I think that'd be funny. I just want to
Yeah.
tell someone I'm from the town crier and get a fake quote from them, make them feel good. Oh.
I've only ever been approached by one person, and then I ended up taking a photo of them. Like they were sitting. It was there was a couple. It was actually right after I bought my M3. It was one of the first shots I took with it. It was up near like Lakeshore, and I was like right near the water, and there was like this couple sitting on a bench, and there was like a tree next to them, and it just looked really nice, like from the back. And like as soon as I hit the shutter, like the who I presume is the husband, like turned around and just like gave me a look, and I ended up just like engaging in conversation, and I ended up taking a photo of them. It wasn't the
Nice.
greatest photo, but
Was it
Got you out of
from the
that
hip?
situation.
yeah, I know that was the thing. They were just like, yeah, no, they ended up being like super chill, but he gave me like the dirtiest look.
People
But-
don't understand that it's not illegal to take pictures of people that are in public places.
Yeah, it's
Right.
not.
Yeah, it's not like I'm in their face like with a camera like
Yeah.
that, right? Like it's like I'm pretty far back, and they just
Yeah.
like happened to notice, and they kind of gave me a look. Like I doubt he was
Yeah.
angry, but
There's a dude.
I
I've
think
I've
that
seen
if
some
you-
angry confrontation though.
Yeah.
You might know
If you had
this
to
guy's
get
name.
consent.
Oh shit! Sorry. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say if you needed to get consent from every single person you took a picture of, you might as well just not take any pictures of
Pictures,
anybody.
yeah.
'Cause, like it'd be
Mhm.
ridiculous. Anyways,
Okay,
what
so
were you saying, Chris?
oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I forget. Oh, there's a dude. Just because you were talking about like being in people's faces, there's like a street photographer who's like known for like literally jumping out at people and like scaring them pretty much. Like
Is it Bruce Gilden?
I don't remember his name, but he's like an old school dude, and he used to like walk around with like 2 flashes.
Bruce
And just,
Gilden.
like, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I've
There's like a
got mixed
video-
opinions on him, but
There's a video on YouTube of him.
Yeah.
Doing it. It's like
yeah, because he's got his camera in one hand, and then he has his flash connected with a sync cord, and he just like goes up to people and like does this and like flash it. He literally flashes them. It's like right in the face, right? Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
if I can subscribe to that. I feel like that's a little much,
Little much.
like it's pretty intense.
but it's also he's a real dick about it as well. Like when people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
giving that look, he's always just like, "Well, you're walking there." It's like, well, what kind of defense is that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I agree. I think it's like it's pretty fucked up to see like his interactions, but he's got some balls for doing it.
There's also
I can never do that shit.
that guy in New York, Daniel Arnold, is like known for that as well. He's less like intrusive about it, but it's like the same sort of thing. Like they're using flash like pretty close to people.
Yeah.
But I feel like he's got a different sort of mentality towards it, so a little
Yeah.
more respect residing there. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So asked you guys to send in, okay, so first I asked you guys to send me your favorite photo that you've taken. And I got response from all of you that I kind of expected was, how could I pick one photo? This is too hard. Screw you. Can I send 10? Which I would love to talk about 10 photos that you guys like, but just like for the sake of time, I got 2 from Alex. We can.
Oh yeah, we're gonna pull this up on Facebook. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna send this to you guys on the Facebook group chat just so you can see them when we talk about them. So, Alex, why don't you tell us what you like about these photos, and why do you like these ones so much?
Yeah. Well, the first, I actually sent them for a specific reason, but the first photo is a portrait that I took of my girlfriend, and it was early on in our relationship too, and it was actually kind of symbolic because it was early on in my photography stages of my life too. So that's actually one of the first. I think that might be the second roll I ever shot, and it just it looks set up, but it was actually candid. So she just happened to pick some flowers at the side of the road. They're actually on that picture's taken on the path beside Dugan Park there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah. So there was just some wildflowers growing, and it was actually a little bit later in the day. So it was also, I kind of just messed around with my settings too, because I had no idea what shutter speed to shoot it at, nothing. So I put it at a relatively low shutter speed, and it ended up turning out cool. The original photo is a bit overexposed, but I touched it up a little bit.
That shadow on her face is really nice. I really like that.
Yeah, the kind of deep greens are gorgeous.
Yeah.
I have trouble getting greens.
Shot that's on?
Greens is the roll. I think it was actually just a Kodak Gold, so it was nothing crazy. But yeah, and then after we took that, I was just excited. That made me more excited to shoot more film, because when I seen that photo, I was like, wow, this is this feeling that I get from a photo like that is just completely different if I took it on my iPhone. There's no way I would like it as much if I took it on my iPhone or even a digital camera. But then the reason why I sent the second photo, which is the one that's shot at Heber Downs by the dog park area. There's a big gazebo that they built recently. I feel like that picture kind of symbolizes my photography stages later on, now that I'm a little bit more experienced. So I took my time taking these shots. I actually might, I don't know, not to sell or anything. I just kind of want it for myself, but I might make just a little coffee table book. But it's the first time that I actually went out during a golden hour and metered properly and took my shots based on the low lights and the oranges and stuff like that. And I really liked how those turned out. I took those actually on my Pentax K1000 as well, because I wanted them just to be a little bit more focused than if I were just taking a rangefinder shot. But yeah, both those pictures mean a lot to me, and that's why I sent them. So.
It's awesome.
Love it.
Yeah.
I like how the one of your girlfriends cropped really wide. I just kind of noticed that, and that gives it a cinematic sort of vibe to it, which I really, really like.
It was actually, there's I do like that too, but it's funny because I cropped it very wide just based on the fact that I didn't want to see the houses at the top. So
That's fair.
It turned out cool, but it wasn't. I didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah.
That's the photographer's secret. Just crop out the stuff you don't want. It's
exactly. Yeah.
Comes down to that.
You know that all too well. Back with the cran mango
action.
Yeah, Sheldon, tell us what you like about these photos.
Okay, so I'll start with the one with the hands, because I know that seems to be people's favorites. That was an odd one to shoot, because it was just such an odd concept, and it came to me so quickly. like that entire shoot I think wrapped up in about 45 minutes. And like the original person I had to model was, they canceled on me last minute. But I was super happy with how it turned out. Honestly, it's not really indicative of what I shoot, but it was a really fun shoot to do. And it's also kind of an anomaly because I tend not to edit film photos a ton in terms of like manipulation. Like I'll adjust contrast and all the standard stuff, but when it comes to like actually retouching, I tend not to do that with film photos, but I did a lot of it on that one just to kind of even out his shoulders and make the wrinkles on the page a little more uniform and stuff. But yeah, that was a fun one. And that's the one that people tend to comment on the most of mine, which I think is cool. And I'm very honored.
It's a great concept.
So clean
Yeah, it's
looking
cool.
too. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Clean looking photo.
It was one of my one-off good ideas. But
I like the crumpled paper. It looks cool.
yeah, so just like basically the way we did it was I shot a photo of his face on digital, and then we went into the next room from the studio, which was the print lab, and I quickly printed it off just on like regular paper, and then I think I printed off like 2-3 copies, and we both just like messed them up as much as we could. But yeah, no, I was very happy with how like the final product came out. And then when it was printed for our grad show, it was printed on like I don't remember the dimensions, a really big like canvas, which I think really kind of like made it pop. But I also shot it on a 6x9 medium format camera, which is a really fun format to shoot. It's like it's not as common, but it's a fun one. Like I took it on a Fuji GW 690, which is like a studio camera, I guess. The other one sorry?
Yeah, no, keep going.
Oh yeah, so the other one I sent, I'll do the triptych, so the 2 photos next to each other. I put those together because they were taken about 2 seconds apart. It was in the old part of Montreal a couple of years ago.
That's
And
awesome.
I remember coming across this puddle, and I remember camping out on like the corner for like a good 40 minutes. And I probably shot half a roll like of this people in this puddle, and those 2 ended up being kind of like the ones that stuck to me. And I like these 2 together, like side by side, because I feel like there's some cohesiveness between both in terms of like the way the light falls. The lines kind of lead into one another, which I think is really cool. And I think that was kind of like,
Good.
yeah, that was kind of dumb luck. Like it wasn't intended, but like I revisited it like a year later and looked at those 2 photos and realized like, oh yeah, those look really nice side by side. And they're actually up framed in my parents' house side by side, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, that's sick.
And then the last one with the 2 people with the camper van, it's actually my aunt and my uncle. It was like a family sort of reunion trip last summer. And that was the reason I picked this photo, is because it was one of the first truly successful large format sheets I ever did. Like all of the home processing and everything, I had like trays lined up in my bathroom, and it was like, because it was one of the first ones, there was just scratches all over it, and it took me hours to like take out all of the dust and the scratches just from me being kind of like nervous about loading the film. Because like for those who don't know, with large format, it's sheets, right? And they go into this this holder, and putting it into the holder, you have to do it in pitch dark, obviously, but you've got to be super careful because that's where all the scratches come from. So clearly I was just like very new to it, and I there was like a huge fingerprint in the corner. There was like scratches running up and down like top to bottom, but I managed to clear them up. But they were actually I don't see them often. They live in Costa Rica, but they were actually driving, I think, across Canada and like living out of that van for a bit. And it was actually kind of, it wasn't intended this way, but it ended up being kind of a recreation of like an old photo of them with a similar van from like 20 years earlier. So it just kind of reminds me of that trip, because it was also one of the only film photos that survived, because we talked earlier about ruined rolls. I had 4 rolls from that trip that were ruined by reticulation, which essentially when you're developing at home, essentially reticulation happens when you're washing the film at the end and your water temperature changes drastically. It actually cracks the emulsion on the film and creates this like really ugly, like very defined grain, but not in a good way. So pretty much all of my like 35 millimeter photos from that trip I had to scrap, which was kind of a bummer.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like they're just, I can still look at them and I know what they are, but they just don't look good. Like I couldn't do anything with them, which was a real bummer. So this was like one of the only sort of surviving images, but it was also the one I was most looking forward to. So
Nice.
I figured it was notable in that sense.
Awesome.
But it was also a fun shoot to do as well.
Cool.
So yeah.
yeah, man.
I feel like it's more about how you feel about the photo than how other people, like, if someone perceives it in a way because it doesn't look a certain way, it doesn't really matter because it's up to you how you feel about your own art. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like having any sort of like story behind an image is like pretty important to me.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also just like the reason I chose these photos specifically to show is just because I've never landed on like one sort of style. I kind of like jump around. Sometimes I do a lot of portraits. Sometimes I'll shoot some like empty sort of desolate landscapes, like some Jason Lee style stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll just like go out and shoot street for a few hours and kill like 2 or 3 rolls in a day, and then come. Like I change it up, right? So I feel like it's tough to pick one photo, or like even picking these 3 was like difficult because I feel like I kind of bounce all over the place style wise.
For sure.
But yeah.
Feel that.
It's cool. It's cool talking to like you guys and hearing you say stuff like it's about, you know, the photo means the photo of, and you know, hearing I love hearing the context, but like of before and after the shots, and you know, just sort of like the feelings behind all the photos, because I feel like I've talked to and I've hung out with like people who are really into photography that spend a lot of time concerned with just like how good the photo looks, you know, and editing and getting just the right frame and just getting all the colors right, and you know, it's all about, you know, how they edited afterwards. And you know, I had someone like I took a photo once like years ago with like my iPhone, and this dude comes up to me and he just like swipes it and he just like starts editing all the stuff, and he's like, oh, this photo looks like crap, and he puts all his own edits on it. He's like, now it looks good.
Some like random guy did that?
No, someone that I used to know.
Say it's like, Jesus,
Guy
that's crazy.
And that was like a big turnoff for me, because it's just like, oh, I'll never know as much as this person about like, you know, all these edits and stuff, and it just kind of was a turnoff for like taking photos. And
I feel like there's a certain level of like photography that can't necessarily be taught in like a traditional way. Like I feel like you kind of just have to do it yourself.
yeah.
And like because I remember like the first time I developed a roll of film, like Nick will remember, I was like super nervous about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did it, and then I like ran into your room and I was just like, dude, that was the easiest thing ever. And I was like overwhelmed, and I think I had all the equipment and like waited a week because I was too nervous to do it or something. Like, but I feel like it's one of those things where it's like you can look up and research things all you want, but I feel like editing's a big one too. It's just like you just have to do it and like find your sort of your system and your niche, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. Okay. Chris, do you want to talk about these? Okay, so you sent me.
I sent the most pictures, I feel like, out of
You have, but like you sent a couple versions of some of these photos.
Yeah.
So,
I'll just go like just by number, I guess. I'll just talk about them. I feel like I come from a different perspective, because like you guys are talking about having a story behind your photos, but for me, I feel like I obviously I appreciate that, but like for me when I'm shooting film, I feel like part of the fun is like the unpredictability. And so the first photo that I have here,
I love this so much, dude.
it was like a really, really happy accident. I don't know. I don't even know like what happened. I just like, I was at a show and I shot it on my Holga with like one of the red gels.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got it developed, I guess like you can see there's obviously like some motion in the shot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and I guess it made like this weird like fog or whatever around this guy's head, which to me I feel like at a show, I kind of like I like if I see stuff like this, I feel like I kind of like will make or interpret a story out of that.
Yeah.
So like,
I feel like that's part of it though. Like
true.
stories behind photos, like even the unpredictability, it's like that is the story, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Like even just like documentary stuff is like super in the moment, but it's
Yeah.
like it's still got that sort of story.
I
Yeah.
love how there's like
I
some
agree.
Honestly.
creepy, like there's some like creepy. If you zoom in on the left side of the stage, there's like some creepy looking face in the back. What
Oh.
the heck,
Oh,
dude?
jeez.
That's creepy.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
honestly.
That's
Anyway, yeah, I feel like that kind of like
Damn.
goes with the whole theme of like being at a show. It's like if it's a good show, you feel like you're being, I don't know, depends on the band, but like sometimes you feel like super, like I don't know, like you're getting hit with these crazy sounds. So
Yeah, honestly.
What show was it?
it was Moonchild, so it was not a fucking crazy show. It was a pretty chill like jazz vibe going on, but
No.
but yeah, I feel like the red also adds to like the intensity. It makes it feel more intense. So the next photo that I have is like just two blue chairs, and I also shot this on my Holga. I was just walking around my neighborhood, and there's a school like right next to my house. They have those little like play areas for the kids, like in the kindergarten section.
Yeah.
And I put two versions of this one because if you look at the second one, that's like the original.
That was gonna be my next question.
Sorry?
That was gonna be my next question, but I guess that makes sense because this one obviously looks like it's upside down.
Yeah, like to me, I feel like I don't know. I don't know why, but even though I know it's upside down, it's like for something about it looks weird. Like to me, it almost looks like the top chair is flopped on the ground, and the bottom chair is like I don't know. There's like a weird.
Abstract to it.
Yeah, I
Or
don't know
like
what it is. I don't know how to
perspective to
describe
it, yeah.
What's
Yeah,
the
but I
blue
feel like
line?
just flipping the photo made it look like a little bit more interesting. That's why I put it in.
Nice.
Mhm.
And then I also shot it on my Holga with like a blue gel, which these chairs were blue, and it just emphasized the blue.
Nice.
Yeah.
Um,
What's that little blue
and then
line?
this, sorry,
What's that blue line that's like across?
the blue line that's across,
Like across the photo. You see what I'm saying?
like on the
The
ground.
curb?
Yeah, the
Oh,
curve.
it's the curb, yeah.
Oh, I actually have no idea. It might just be like some kind of drawing on the pavement.
Cool. I dig it though.
It's awesome.
And then the third photo was this was my first roll of slide film that I shot,
Oh,
and
nice.
I shot it at the Raptors parade, which was like
Beautiful.
I don't know. I you'll see in the next one like I missed a couple of like exposures just because just that's how slide film is. It's like
Mhm.
harder
It's the
to
way it goes. Slide.
yeah. But I had this like I kind of when I was shooting last year I was mainly trying to frame things within the frame. So I was trying to figure out like I don't know if there was like I was saying earlier like somebody walking try to get them like in the door frame or like in something some kind of like I don't know square or whatever and they were having like the snowbirds fly over the Raptors parade so I happened to be under these trees and I saw like a little opening where they were passing through so I thought it looked cool.
Awesome. Yeah, that's an awesome picture.
And then the next one so if you go to the second one, which is the original, which is overexposed like crazy. But
Right.
this is one of my favorite shots that I think I've taken, just because I was able to save it by putting it in black and white. But I think the main thing I like about it is just like the shapes in it. So like
Yeah, no, the pattern's so nice. It
Like
really
the-
draws your eye to that guy.
yeah, that's what I kind of felt in the moment. Like I was walking around and I looked up on the bridge because like there was a bunch of people on the bridge and we were trying to figure out how to get there. and I just saw this dude chilling there, like with his hand on his hip, and like looking at the chaos that was going on down there. And,
Oh, he's just standing there. Cool. I thought
Yeah,
he
he
was
was
walking
just
down
chilling.
the stairs. I thought he was walking. That's cool.
Yeah, no, he was like, it was weird. It was like he was posing.
Huh.
And yeah, I don't know. I like the lines of the bridge, like how it's going, like kind of, I don't know,
Yeah, the
And
it's got like a
so,
symmetry.
zigzag to it. And there's like a little bit. If you look at the original, there's like a bunch of people. You can't really see it as much in the black and white. There's like a bunch of people at the bottom. There's like kind of a bunch of chaos going on, and
yeah,
then
exactly.
near the top, there's like just all these straight lines and like all this neatness. So I thought that
Yeah.
looked pretty cool. And then
Order
also
and chaos.
Really.
there's like two dudes that are like perfectly lined up with that line of the bridge too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ah,
Yeah, the
Nice.
three layers of that photo are nice.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. There wasn't really a story to this one. I just thought it looked
Visually
cool that-
appealing, yeah.
yeah, there's like a dude who's like amongst the madness. He's just chilling.
My first thought when I saw all of yours is like I've never shot a Holga or any of like the toy cameras before, but they just have this like quality to them.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to describe it. Like it's
Yeah.
almost the like lack or quality or lack thereof in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because it's like it's got those kind of like imperfections, but it also gives it such like a nostalgic sort of feel. I might
yeah.
be
I
like
also,
I feel like people are kind of divided on toy cameras, but I think they're really cool. I've never really thought to use one,
yeah.
but
I was gonna
They're
say
fun.
like
I
I
really
never
enjoy how the photos look from them.
I never really like I don't think any of us really, it sounded like none of us really like edit our photos like crazy unless like there's like you were saying, like if you have scratches or something like that, but like I normally just adjust the contrast or whatever, just basic
Mhm.
stuff. But one thing that really attracted me to the Holga was just how it's like such a cheap camera. It was like the cheapest medium format camera, which I just thought it was cool to shoot on medium format. And also I like the square aspect ratio. Like I find it a lot like it's just another simplification. Like
Yeah.
instead of having to choose landscape or portrait, like I just point and shoot. And
Right.
It's also like a bit of a challenge for yourself too, because like composing for squares like not natural to
Yeah,
most
exactly.
people, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the few
yep.
times I've shot with like a 6x6 camera, it's like I've had to like really stop and like look at my exposures because it's just it's kind of like a bit of a shock at first.
yeah, I kind of feel like I also try to think of it sometimes as like an album cover or something like that. I try
Yeah,
to put myself in like an album cover mentality and try to like see what's
interesting.
interesting. So yeah, those are my photos.
cool, man. Love
Those are
it.
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the square thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, because I think somewhere in this folder. All right, please, I hope it's here. It's not. That's okay. I'll find it. There's a photo that I was looking through my phone for a photo that Chris took, and I noticed that it was square. Like before this, I was like, was this cropped for Instagram or something like that? And yeah.
That's actually why square cameras were invented back in the 40s. It was for Instagram.
For Instagram.
For Instagram. Little known fact. Little known fact for you guys.
Last but not least, Nick, tell us about your photos, dude.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off with the one of, well, two of them are of my buddy Jeff. My buddy Jeff is basically like how like my first model essentially, because we'd always just go out, and it was when I was getting into photography, so I would always be with him, and he never minded me taking pictures of him. And so I'll start with the one of him doing a skateboard trick over me, and this photo has been like my favorite photo. I think this is like my ultimate favorite photo, just for like how it looks, the look on his face, because you can tell he's concentrated on trying to look at the camera, but also trying not to fall on me, because it's on a half pipe. So I was laying down on the half pipe, and I was like, "Hey Jeff, just go over top of me, man. Just do this hand plant over top of me. And he's not like he was never really used to doing this. So I think a lot of like you can tell in his eyes, he's like, please just just land the trick, you know? And he did land it. It was actually it was awesome. Like it was the one he did land, and we just got it perfectly. And it was that moment we got. Like I didn't even like take 1,000 pictures to get it too. It was just like because it wasn't working. I wasn't getting it at the perfect time. It'd be like either like right before or like right after, and so I had to like really choose my moment, and that was it. And it turned out so nice.
I
Yeah, I
love
love that
skate
shot.
photos, man. Like it just looks like one of those like old school skate photos.
Exactly, and that's why it had to go
Yeah.
in black and white too. And yeah, that photo's always stuck out to me. And
I
then,
love that it says Thrasher right under him too. It's like
honestly,
it's like a magazine
it's
cover.
like yeah, right out of the magazine. And then the second picture of Jeff, that one is a little bit later. This one's my favorite film camera picture, or my favorite film picture. This was under the skate park. It's like the pass skate park in Toronto. And we were just
Yeah.
chilling. It was like just such a good day. And it was at the end of a long day. And I was like, hey, man, I'm almost done this roll. Let me just get one more picture of you. And this is like, that picture right there, like whenever I see it, man, like that's just Jeff in his natural state. Just giant beard, funky hat. He's just chilling. He's like,
List.
yeah, exactly.
I've seen this dude around. I feel like he's coming to my work.
Yeah, he goes to your school, or he went to DC. So that might be it. He might even come to your work. Where do you work again?
In Brooklyn at Copper Branch.
Oh, he definitely goes there a lot.
I feel like did I develop that one for you?
I think so.
I feel like I've definitely seen it before.
Yeah,
like
this thing. It was one of my
got, like,
first
weird
rolls on
deja
this
vu.
camera. Yeah.
Yeah, I got like weird deja vu when I first saw it. It's just like, I feel like I've seen this on my laptop before.
It was like one of the pictures I was most excited to see too. So yeah, that one's just like my favorite film picture. And this last one, and if anyone knows me, I'm a very big into long exposure pictures. That's like, I just love seeing things that move. It like almost like has the motion in there, or like pictures that just don't look appealing normally to other people. I love them. Like I don't know what, like blurry pictures or long exposures. The way like I could just stare at it for hours and hours. In this picture, I remember the first time I saw it, and this is of a Dinosaur Jr. actually, which is one of my favorite bands. So like shooting them was just like I had so much fun at that show, just taking the pictures for them. And then this picture came out, and I stared at it. I think it was 2 hours like straight, and I just like I didn't even edit it. This isn't even edited. This is just straight out of the camera. No, it's one of my favorite.
Yeah, I love
pictures.
that one.
Long exposure shots. Like Nick shot photos for my final recital at Humber, which is something I'll talk about in a second. He included some long exposure shots in there, and one of them, Nick, I don't know if you know this, but one of the long exposure shots he took at my recital is actually the header on my band camp.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's just so perfect because the header on Bandcamp is like pretty squashed.
Yeah.
So in the pit, like if you go to my whatever, it's pretty much just like you see just the instrument, so you don't see any faces. So like you see, like the bulk of Jake's bass and like his hands and just the drum set, and you see just my guitar, and it's all blurred. It's perfect. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like I love taking concert pictures, and what do people do during concerts? They move, because I mostly shoot like rock and metal concerts, and especially metal. They're moving a lot. So like I'm not just going to take a picture of their hair like mid thing going like like that's cool and all, but wouldn't it be cool if you see the hair going all the way down or coming all the way up? So like it just adds a whole other element to it, and it's so visually appealing to me. Like when I see these, I just love them way more than any other pictures I take.
Nice.
Yeah, those are my pictures.
Yeah. So I didn't really have any like of my own photos that I wanted to share, but like there's a couple photo moments that like stuck with me in like the past year that I just wanted to talk about, and a couple of them are back to Nick taking photos from our recital. A couple of them are from my recital that Nick took photos of. So if you look at one, the caption. So one thing I like I don't know how I don't know if Nick did this on purpose, or if, I don't know if he's just that great of a photographer, but Nick just out of all the photos he took, he captured so many moments on my recital that were like really specific things that happened that only the people on stage knew happened. Like the stuff that afterwards, when I was talking to my buddies, like, how do you think it went? I'm like, this is a funny thing that happened. So this photo is of me and that's Jordan Mazza, and she's one of my best friends in the world. And I was in that she wrote. And like she's laughing at me because I'm telling this story about how like I tried to I was telling this story about how she was holding music on her head and I tried to kick it off her head, but I like fell on my butt. And I don't know, I was just like trying to fill time, but also I was holding this orange juice jug for another
kind of
bit.
hard to see.
Yeah, I did a lot of dumb
Oh my god.
Yeah. So this other bit that I did in my recital was I did another bit where I had like some friends walk out on stage in like pajama onesies, like that one Punchu show that we did, and like so Tegan Larmond is behind me tuning my guitar dressed as Pikachu, and then I handed them the orange juice afterwards. Anyways, like yeah, like this is such a cool photo to me because it's like I talked to Jordan about that afterwards, and she's just like, I can't believe you told that story. Why did you bring me out on stage? Exact moment when she's just laughing at me for telling that story. And then, there too. So this is Parmar, and we had just finished playing a song that he was featured on, and it was right after, and we were looking at each other, and I thought he was looking at me like, that went really well. So on my face, I'm looking at him like, that went really well. But what happened was I accidentally skipped a part of the song, like completely, just nerves, adrenaline, I don't know what you want to call it, but I skipped the part of the song, and my band was just good enough to adapt, so they just like skipped it with me. So Brennan's like, dude, why did you do that? And I'm looking at him like, good job. And Nick got that exact moment. I think that's so
I actually remember
That's
that
incredible.
too. I remember him looking at you, and I turned. I think I was about to take a picture of Jake and John because I think they were like looked at each other too, and then I saw you guys, and I was like, nope, and I like just went quickly over, and
Yeah.
I luckily got that moment.
Yeah, like, yeah, my favorite. Yeah, these are like, I think these are my two favorite moments from my like entire recital, where just these like really funny things that happen that Nick got photos of somehow. Like, it's so funny. Um, One, I uploaded it now. Um, can you guys see it? It's the one we haven't looked at yet. It's the one with like and me and Jake at that Punchu show where we wore onesies.
Oh,
You guys see it?
yeah.
I don't.
And I'm
I don't
losing
see
my
that
mind. Yeah, you have to refresh.
You have to refresh. I just uploaded.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, so
Oh yeah, I know this picture. Yeah.
so this is a photo that Chris took. That is just I thought it was hilarious because
I was wearing a
like, I don't
trash
know-
bag.
Pardon?
I was wearing a trash bag, and I was
Yeah.
slowly just ripping it off because it was so hot in there. And that's me.
I'm so
like,
sad.
just,
I missed that. I had to leave early because I had work in the morning.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
jeez.
dang. Yeah, but I think Jake was. It looks like he was playing the intro to that song there, and I was just like massaging his Pikachu tail, and Chris was front row, and was like he's just chilling there, and then as soon as he saw that, he just like put up his camera so quickly and took a photo and put it down again. Me just massaging the tail. I remember just laughing so hard.
I didn't even see Nick in the background in that when I was taking that, and when I saw it later on, I was like, man, like that was
Nobody ever
well,
sees the drummer. What are you talking about?
I know, right?
I think that's the only picture I actually got of that show, other than like the other one of me, like with the garbage bag on.
So those are some photos that I just really like, just because of what happened in that exact moment.
Honestly, that's awesome.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap it up there, guys. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
That was really fun.
Honestly, like our pleasure. I mean, I was just really excited to talk to you guys about this stuff.
Wicked.
You guys talk.
Right.
Yeah, I was just I'm just having so much fun. Like I don't care who watches this. I just had a really good time.
Just soaking up the information.
Um, yeah. So thank you so much for watching or listening to We'll Name It on the Pod with Half of Punch You today. You can help support this podcast and Punch You by subscribing and liking us on Facebook or Instagram, and downloading our singles that we currently have out on Spotify and all streaming platforms. Where can we look at your photos, guys? I'll put the little I'll put your handles
In the description.
up in the description.
You put my handle right in my hand.
Ooh, okay.
Can you superimpose it right on there?
Are you guys on like? Can I direct people to your Instagrams? Is that cool?
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
I'm hardly active on Instagram, to be honest.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've been lazy about Instagram, and a lot of the stuff I shoot is kind of it stays with me. But yeah, Instagram's kind of the only social media I can still tolerate. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
that out.
That's pretty much where I post. I don't really post anywhere else for my pictures. So.
Sweet.
Awesome.
So look into the comment section for these guys' Instagram handles and all the links to Punchy socials. If anyone has any suggestions, oh, that's so cool! I didn't even notice that. If anyone has any suggestions on who they want to see on this podcast or any topics you want to hear about, drop in the comment section. Send Punchy a DM. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. We'll name it on the pod. Half a Punch You. Happy Beef Wednesday. Later.
Woo!
Later.
GG.
I'm gonna light my house on fire.
Bro, I'll come watch it burn with you.